28 pirates attacked a U.S. Navy ship. Under the cover of a monsoon squall, 28 pirate speedboats emerged from the rain-whipped darkness. Their target? A lone U.S. Navy supply ship, the USNS Perseverance. They thought the storm was their perfect weapon, a cloak of invisibility. What they didn't know was that the storm had just become their tomb. Because when you attack America in the dark, you force us to turn on the lights. And what we brought wasn't a flashlight, it was the sun. For over 2 centuries, a shadow has hunted the world's shipping lanes, a threat born of greed, opportunity, and lawlessness. From the treacherous shores of the Barbary Coast to the chaotic waters off Somalia, they have tested the resolve of nations, their existence a bloody challenge to order itself. Their weapon is fear. Their currency is violence. And for over 200 years, only one force has consistently answered their treachery with relentless steel and righteous fire: the United States Navy. A new generation of pirates made a fatal miscalculation. They launched a coordinated assault of 28 boats against what they thought was a vulnerable supply ship, the USNS Vanguard. They believed the cover of a monsoon squall would hide them. They believed their numbers would guarantee their victory. They were wrong, dead wrong, because they weren't just attacking a ship, they were attacking a legacy. And the U.S. Navy was about to teach them a lesson written in history and finished with absolute terrifying force. The USNS Vanguard, a Spearhead-class expeditionary fast transport, cut through the heaving black waters of the Indian Ocean. To any observer, it was just another cargo ship, a workhorse. But underneath its steel decks lay the lifeblood of a modern carrier strike group. Advanced stabilizer compounds for hypersonic missiles, next-generation encrypted avionics for F-35C fighters, and high-density fuel blends that could turn the tide of a conflict. This wasn't just a target. It was a strategic crown jewel, running a lone wolf mission that was anything but solitary. It was always connected to the pack, a single node in a vast, invisible network of American power. On the bridge, the mood was tense but professional. Captain, a former destroyer commander with ice in his veins and 20 years of service etched on his face, watched the storm. The rain came in horizontal sheets, lashing against the windows, reducing the world to a swirling, chaotic gray. The radar was a mess of green static, the storm's perfect cloak. But Captain instincts, honed in the Persian Gulf and the South China Sea, were screaming. This was pirate weather. This was ambush weather. His instincts were right. They emerged from the rain like phantoms, their outlines blurred by the torrential downpour. Not 1 or 2 boats, but a swarm. 28 fiberglass skiffs, each powered by multiple outboard engines, screaming at full throttle, riding the violent waves with a terrifying practiced ease. This was no ragtag group of desperate fishermen. This was a coordinated military-style assault, planned and executed with chilling precision. They used the storm's acoustic chaos to mask their approach until they were virtually on top of the larger ship. The first warning was the sound, the high-pitched whine of the engines through the storm's roar, a split second before the muzzle flashes erupted from the boats. RPGs streaked across the narrowing gap, not aimed to destroy, but to intimidate and suppress. One slammed into the Vanguard's portside hull, the explosion a deafening thunderclap that shook the entire vessel. Heavy machine gun fire stitched a line of holes across the superstructure, shattering windows and forcing the small security team to duck for cover. Grappling hooks, weighted and barbed, arced through the air and clanged against the railings. The pirates were swarming the deck in minutes, a flood of armed, screaming men. They moved with purpose, splitting into fire teams. One group laid down suppressing fire, pinning the American security team behind storage containers. Another group made a beeline for the bridge. The fight was fierce, but brutally one-sided in numbers. The Vanguard's crew were logistics specialists, not infantry. Their security detail, brave as they were, was overwhelmed by the sheer, shocking volume of attackers. In the vicious, close-quarters firefight that erupted on the rain-slicked deck, 5 American sailors fell. The bridge doors were blown open. The captain and his officers were forced to their knees at gunpoint. The pirates cheered, their voices triumphant over the storm. They slapped each other on the backs, believing they had captured another prize, another payday. They thought they had won. They had no idea they had just signed their own death warrants. As a pirate rough-handled them, Captain's hand subtly and visibly found a small disguised panel on the base of the console behind him. It wasn't a big red button. It was a biometric scanner. He pressed his thumb against it. No alarm sounded, no light flashed, but a silent, encrypted pulse shot from a concealed antenna, bursting through the storm. A digital scream into the void. It wasn't a standard distress call. It was a legacy protocol. This message was simple, a line from history. The shores of Tripoli are breached. Repeat, Tripoli is breached. 1,000 miles away in the calm, chilled air of the Pentagon's National Military Command Center, a 4-star admiral saw the code flash on a central screen. The room, a monument to quiet efficiency, went utterly still for a fraction of a second. The admiral's face, usually an unreadable mask, hardened into something cold and formidable. He knew the history. He knew the weight of those words. This wasn't just a hijacking. It was a direct echo of the nation's first foreign war, a challenge that demanded a response worthy of its legacy. "They've forgotten who we are," the admiral said, his voice low but cutting through the silence like a knife. "It's time for a reminder. Execute Operation Phoenician Fury. All assets are weapons free. I want that ship sanitized. I want our people back. I want a message sent that echoes from Mogadishu to every single rat's nest on that coast." The response was not just swift, it was historical. It was a symphony of vengeance composed from 2 centuries of experience, each movement more devastating than the last. The first instrument was psychological. The USS San Jacinto, a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser already on station patrolling the Somali basin, was the closest hand of justice. The San Jacinto was no stranger to piracy. Just the day before, its crew had disrupted 9 suspected pirates attacking the Maltese-flagged vessel Avenue Beauty. They had used warning shots, boarded the skiff, and after finding no weapons, had confiscated their fuel and let them go. A standard, lawful, and proportional response. But this was different. This was an act of war against a U.S. Navy vessel. The San Jacinto's captain didn't hesitate. He unleashed the LRAD, the long-range acoustic device. This wasn't a weapon of bullets, but of pure, undiluted terror. A directed, ear-splitting wall of sound, a frequency designed to disorient, incapacitate, and induce sheer panic, lanced across the waves and hit the pirates on the Vanguard's deck. The effect was instantaneous. Pirates clutched their ears, dropping their weapons, collapsing to their knees, vomiting over the sides. Their triumphant cheers turned into screams of agony. Their assault was broken not by bullets, but by sound. While the pirates were writhing in confusion, the eyes in the sky arrived. An MQ-4C Triton maritime surveillance drone, already aloft from a distant base, adjusted its course. Its powerful sensors pierced the storm, painting every heat signature on the Vanguard's deck. Each pirate was now individually marked, tracked, and targeted by an invisible, unblinking eye from 60,000 feet. The data streamed live to every command node. Then, the sky itself spoke, not with the thunder of helicopters, but with the whisper of carbon fiber wings. 2 F-35C Lightning IIs from the carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, operating in complete radar silence, dropped out of the cloud cover. They didn't fire a shot. They didn't need to. They simply flew a low, menacing pass over the crippled Vanguard, their sleek, predatory shapes a silent, unmistakable declaration of absolute air dominance. The message was received and understood on a primal level. Resistance is annihilation. The anvil was now in place. The hammer fell from the sea and the sky simultaneously. From the black water, sleek combat rubber raiding crafts materialized beside the Vanguard's hull. Elements of the 75th Ranger Regiment, who had fast roped from an MC-130J Commando II aircraft miles back, placed breaching charges on the waterline doors. At the exact same moment, a Seahawk helicopter from the San Jacinto hovered over the foredeck. Navy SEALs fast roped down, their suppressed rifles already seeking targets. The assault was three-dimensional, flawless, and brutally efficient. While the SEALs cleared the upper decks with silent clinical precision, the Rangers blew the hatches and flooded into the engineering spaces and lower holds. The pirates, disoriented by the LRAD and utterly demoralized by the F-35s, were caught in a vicious, inescapable crossfire. There was no room for a standoff. This was close-quarters battle of the most intimate and deadly kind. Flashbangs illuminated dark corridors for a split second, freezing pirates in stark terror before they were subdued. Suppressed gunfire cracked briefly, a sharp final punctuation to any resistance. It was not a battle, it was a reclamation. Room by room, deck by deck, the ship was taken back. In under 12 minutes from the first SEAL's boot hitting the deck, the USNS Vanguard was once again under American control. The wounded sailors were quickly located, triaged by combat medics, and medevaced by the San Jacinto's helicopter to advanced medical care. Not a single additional American life was lost. Those who had survived the swift justice of the SEALs and Rangers were zip-tied, blindfolded, and lined up on the rain-washed deck. They were a pathetic sight, shivering, broken, their bravado completely gone. But the mission wasn't over. Justice was. These were not the lucky pirates the San Jacinto had interdicted the day before, who were sent ashore without a warning. They were not the infamous fools of 2006 who had audaciously opened fire on the USS Cape St. George and USS Gonzales, only to have their mothership sent to the bottom. A story of such stunning miscalculation, it was still told to warn new recruits. Those men had been repatriated. That era was over. The captain of the San Jacinto, watching the feed from a drone circling overhead, spoke to the Special Forces commander on the Vanguard. His voice was cold, devoid of emotion. The age of catch and release is over. These men are not fishermen. They are not victims of circumstance. They are enemy combatants who waged a deliberate act of war on a United States Navy vessel. They will be processed as unlawful combatants. They will be tried, and they will face the rest of their lives in a maximum security prison. Let that be the new message. And so, a new chapter was written in the long, bloody history of counter-piracy. Not with a single daring SEAL sniper shot, as ended the Maersk, Alabama crisis, but with the cold, relentless, and utterly comprehensive application of law and overwhelming power. The storm cleared as quickly as it had arrived. The rising sun broke over the horizon, its light illuminating a calm sea, cured ship, and a new, stark precedent. The legacy of Decatur, Preble, and the heroes of the Bainbridge had been honored, and it had been evolved. The message was no longer just, "Don't attack us." It was, "If you attack us, you disappear from the world forever." This was more than a battle. It was a statement etched in fire and steel, a declaration that the long, proud history of the U.S. Navy is not just a record of past victories. It is a living, evolving doctrine. From the warning shots of the San Jacinto to the overwhelming multi-domain fury of Operation Phoenician Fury, America controls the escalatory ladder. We choose the time, the place, and the method of response. To every pirate, every warlord, and every hostile actor watching in the shadows of the world, the rules are now clear and they are absolute. Attack our allies and you will be stopped. Attack our assets and you will be erased from the board. The United States Navy owns the night, commands the storm, and writes the final chapter. Every single time.